Hello friends, so today I will going to talk about a very standard idea that's called value. And by hearing it, it looks very trivial that we know what is value. Like we value this, we value that. Suppose the value of 100 rupees note is definitely more than a 50 rupees note. But I will be diving little deeper into what is that thing exactly is. Like why you value something more than other things, like why the 10 rupees note worth more than like 5 rupees note. So what is the difference that it gives you? And to understand this thing, it's very important to understand the idea of power. Because if I say value is if I have to give a small explanation of what value is, I will say a value is most of the time is like a relative thing. It's not like if I ask you what is the value of this pen, because even it's a used pen, you can definitely say like in some currency or some things, but it's by saying in the currency means like suppose you say it's cost 10 rupees even since it's used, you're comparing it with someone, like everything you have, like you already have some labels, like you make a spectrum and then you're putting it at somewhere. But suppose there's nothing like a currency, then in that case, so it's like, so value of this is very value is itself a relative quantity rather than an absolute quantity, like a potential difference. So one thing, and then it is what increases your power at what degree. So when we are doing the exchange, at that time the value only comes in play. And to understand value, you need to understand the idea of power. So what is power? Power. And the power is the size of your action space. So the person with greater power will have a higher possibility of actions he can do. So suppose, like, go to the very basic example of a person who is physically weak, and the person who is physically strong. In that case, the person who is physically strong has a bigger action space. He can do more set of actions than a person with weak, but in the physical sense only. But it could possible that a person with say more money and less money. Okay, so the person with more money can take bigger actions. Like if you go to the Amazon, like any shopping website, and the person who has less money can buy some less set of things, and then the person with the more money can buy greater things. Like don't go exactly in the case like, okay, he can borrow, and like this a weak person can have a gun, and don't go I'm only taking a small narrow set of and showing that a basic narrow examples. So the power is defined in many dimensions, like a person who has a fame, who is a famous, and the person who is not famous. The person who is famous has a power in the sense that he can act. So his voice, what he say will have a huge impact. So this is the way he has a power. So he can act, in a very wider spectrum. Like he has the size of the action space. The greater the action space, the greater the power. All right. Next, So if you see that, okay, size of an action space. So this is talking about the potentiality. Even power comes from something like potentiality. Potentiality of acting. What is the possibility in which the person can act? Potential. And if you believe in a deterministic world means you say our future is predetermined. If you believe in those school of thoughts, then it collides with lot of things like then free will and many things. But in that case, you feel you have no power because you can't do anything. Everything is already predefined. So the potentiality is zero. You don't have any possibilities. No, it's not the possibilities, it's potential. So you don't have any, like, it's very determined, like precise thing that you are going to do. So the size of an action space is a power. Okay. We value the things by trading those, we increase our size of an action space. The things we value more is the things that increase the size of our action space. It means something which increases our potentiality. So if like I like you to find the contradictions in my, or say examples in which you say, now in this case your sentence is not making sense. For example, now I'm education. Like being educated, is it increasing your action space? Or learning a new skill, is it increasing your action space? Or like find the examples which do not fit what I'm saying. So it will, I will try to answer those things if it's not fitting, because looking directly to this type of view is not trivial. Like I don't find, like, usually my friends or other people agree with these things. So yeah. Another thing is, okay, size of your action space. And since it's a potentiality, so you never know what was possible. So if I ask what would have happened, okay, if I would have done this, then like kya hua hota, like something like that. So you never know. You will never know. Like suppose you think this is a possibility, somebody say okay, this is the entire possibility, and something, suppose this thing happened, and another person would have said this was the possibility, and this thing happened. So which one is correct? We never know. Suppose if I say ki I can fly, but I don't want to fly. So will you consider that as my action space? Do you consider that as my proof? So so we need someone not, like we do that, but there is a person who measures the action space. So what amount of power the entity carries is not something absolute. It's a subjective measure by every single other individuals, and even by that person itself. And going a little deeper, like when you measure your own power, that calls the feeling of free will. Like the feeling of free will comes from that. And when you measure other power, it's like you just measure other power. And when you measure your own power, that's called experience of free will. So so how we measure other power? If suppose somebody come at front of you and he said something that he can fly, and you know that he can't fly. So like you did your analysis, internal mental process, and concluded that he can't fly. But it could possible that he is able to fly. And something like suppose there's a two person standing, and one knows that I have a gun in my pocket, and other person don't know. And I am saying, do this, like I'm like ordering something, and like that person who knows that I have a gun knows that I have a huge power, and he's like, oh my god, he will be afraid of that power, but other person don't aware of that power. So the power is really subjective thing, and so the power is itself very tricky. So like it's not just the size of an action space, but a relative thing. Like I measures your power, you measure someone else's power, and it's the possibility over which you can act. And it even dives deeper. It even dives deeper that suppose there's a third person who knows that I have a gun, but he also knows that I don't know how to use the gun, or maybe he has the information that the gun don't have a bullet. So the third person has like more knowledge, and he knows the constraint on my possible action space. So there's a one person who don't know that I have a gun, second person knows I have a gun, and the third person knows I have a gun but it's empty. So like these three people, like have different notions of the power that I carry, like the possible actions that I can do. So what these people are doing, as an individual, they are evaluating my possible action space. And the greater the action space, the greater the uncertainty I carry in my action, or the potential I have on taking my action, makes the person more powerful. And that is a very non-trivial, or I don't know, like people usually don't talk about it, but the how uncertain you are about taking your action. Suppose you are very rich and you are a good person, and everybody know you are a good person, and they know that you will going to do it. Suppose for example, the beggars come and asking for give me money, give me money, give me money. They are like usually these days they make you like feel that they come and make you feel that you do not, like it feels I don't have power. Like personally sometimes I do feel that I have to be good and I have to give the money, and the person, he knows that he can't say no to me because everybody is looking and something like this. So being good is like something like being restricting your power. But a person who is, that he is good, but he can entertain to be bad. He can like take actions which is not trivial. Like so we are more afraid of those people. We feel that okay, they contain more power, and we feel little bit afraid of those people. So yeah, it plays some like very trivial role. So I wanted to talk about the value. So the value is something which increases your power, but it is a feeling. Another thing, it's a feeling that you get. So even the measurement of power is also some sort of feeling. So these three people I gave you, they don't like precisely know how much power you carry. They can feel that power the same way you can feel the value. And the feeling of value is exploited. Like this experience, the feeling of value is exploited while doing the value game. So value game is a game that we humans do play, in which we exchange things. We exchange services, we exchange ideas, we exchange currency, we do exchanges. So these type of exchange are called value game, because what exactly we are doing is like we are exchanging the value. Suppose I'm in a sweet shop and I have like make some sweets where each sweet cost suppose 5 rupees, and I'm selling it to 10 rupees. And the other person who is there has a cash, and he saw that sweet. So it's the feeling. So for me, I can see that because I have a lot of sweets, so those sweets doesn't value me. Like I know it's 5 rupees, so it's 5 rupees. But the person who is on the other end can see that sweet and a note, a 10 rupees note, and he can feel that what he wants. Is he want that 10 rupees note or that sweet? And if he's feeling, I want that sweet. So at that moment, the value of the sweet for that person is higher, because based on like very subjective and like even it's very time dependent experience of value. So he do that value exchange at that time, and just by doing that value exchange, he increases his value. And yeah, it's about like, then the question comes, is that increasing his power? So in this particular example, it is not very evident, very evident that it's increasing the power. But when we look at more broader, when you see the value exchange that companies are doing, when we are hiring people to work for us, or we are paying them, or when the two companies are sharing the services, so in that case it's very clearly visible. Even in this case, it's if he eats the sweet, he feels good, and when he feels good, he can do more things. If you don't buy that sweet, he feels sad, and you can say those type of things. But yeah, look at this, and so I give you a very basic definition of value, which is helpful in the value game, and maybe I will come and talk about more of these things. I use so much jargons like value game and action space and potentiality, and even in the middle I talked about said a word potentiality and possibility. So these are many terms that I will maybe cover in the upcoming videos, but yeah, maybe I will try to structure these videos more better. Yeah, but see you soon. Yeah, thank you.